All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the STEM Files, where we are the voice of STEM talent and Black culture. Tonight's episode is very special. We're going to have Ezmer Harris on with us on the live stream tonight. She's going to be talking about her research and development background in chemistry, as well as her company, The Chemically Divine Laboratory, LLC. So stay tapped in for more after this. All right, so I just realized that no one heard what I just said a few minutes ago. So I'm going to say that again. My name is Tariq Muhammad, aka Tariq Cardiac. I am a biomedical research scientist with a background in cardiovascular pathobiology, which is the study of how diseases form in the heart and in the blood vessels. I'm usually joined by my right hand, Jabril Muhammad, aka Jabrain Engineer. He's a mechanical engineer for the United States Navy, specializing in naval ship fluid systems, where he works to make sure that those nice, big, pretty ships that you see out at sea function correctly. Tonight's episode, we're joined by the lovely Ezmer Harris. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. Thank you for joining us tonight on this Saturday where you could have been, relaxing, doing anything that your heart sees fit, but you decided to join us tonight. So we're greatly appreciative of that. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
All right,
You're
cool.
welcome. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to tell everybody about my field in chemistry.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so let's start with the basics. What exactly do you do in research and development chemistry, and what got you into this particular area of STEM?
Well, what the Chemically Divine Lab does, which I am the founder of, we are a research and development company geared towards creating quality products, custom products for small businesses and entrepreneurs. We started, well, I started this to make chemists more accessible to really the Black community. As I was researching and trying to find out what I wanted, how to start a hair care line and things like that. I was working in research and development at the time. It just seemed like it was really hard to find someone to make products, which I knew how to do it at the time, but I was just looking at the time to see, kind of what the average was for somebody who did that. Being that I was doing it at the time at a company that I was with. I saw how expensive it was and how unaccessible it was. I went to the Main Choice conference where I spoke and asked the question to the real BB Judy on Instagram. And I guess I stood up and I said what I did as a career, and it was research and development. And I was flocked, basically bombarded with women who wanted to start their own lines. And at the time, that's what I was doing. I was actually working in a soap predominantly based company. We made shampoo, conditioners, soaps, lotions, butters, things like that. So I was approached by some women and they asked, could you make a formula for me? And that's how the Chemically Divine Lab started. I actually went to the conference to start my own line where I was gonna basically develop my own product. And somehow God knew where to take me, and that's how I got to the Chemically Divine Lab. So now I develop products for other small businesses and entrepreneurs who are just starting out.
Wow, wow. So your company is very similar to ours, Original Man Scientific. We're a Black-owned research and development company. And we pretty much do the same thing you guys do, but we don't just really focus on cosmetics. We focus on any idea that they have, an invention, an app, whatever it is that they come up with. So I want to talk about the personal feelings that you have um, now that you have a business and it is thriving. What does it feel like to see your company name on that lab coat?
It feels freeing. That was the biggest thing that I was looking for. I kind of got tired of the corporate thing and trying to fit in a system that you couldn't, especially if you had somewhat culture to you and just bubbly. I'm a very bubbly person. And again, that Black woman is always taking anything she says. She could say the sky is blue. It's taken like,
Right.
she said the sky is blue. So
Mhm.
I kind of just got tired of the instability in the corporate America. For me personally, having to ask for off days, having to ask for days to take for myself, and my mental health. I got tired of that. And that's what started. It feels freeing to be able to basically say, you know what, this is what I'm doing. And even if if the world shuts down, you see with the pandemic, if the world shut down, I know how to create a sense of financial freedom for myself. And that is what it feels like to own a business and see the name of my business on anything. It's a relief to know that there's always a way.
You said something very key about it being a pandemic, and it's more important now than ever to be able to find something to create that passive income, that generational wealth for you and your family for generations to come. Talk about how necessary it is for everyone to not just be invested in selling a product, but be invested in developing a product that you can carry with you forever, and your children can carry with them, and it's something that's attached to you and your intellectual property.
Well, it's kind of essential at this point. Inflation is going to
Yeah.
keep doing what it's doing, and as we see in the news, minimum wage isn't meeting, the necessities.
Right.
So for me, being able to help people create their own lines and their own generational wealth. What I feel that I do is I create a formula that has a lifetime longer than you, longer than your children and their children. So this formula that I'm giving you, you can pass it down to your children. You see how we have Carol's Daughters and these companies where they're saying this has been made in our basic family for years, and we're just now getting to the point of creating that generational wealth. I want to create more of that in our community. And for me, this was the first start in creating my generational wealth, but I wanted to make sure that I was also feeding it to others. So I think it is definitely important to have some type of, I guess, ambition for futures to come. You may be living okay, but who's to say your children in 20 years, then, they don't have to work two jobs, just to
Right.
live. So I think it's definitely important, and everybody should find some type of talent and turn it into, something that they can feed into the world as well.
Got it. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up something real quick.
Okay.
So at this time, we're about 10 minutes in. I meant to do this at the start of the show, but I wanted to give a shout out to our sponsors for the program tonight. The first sponsor being the NOI Ministry of Science and Technology. For those who are watching may not know, Jabril and I are members of the Nation of Islam. And our leader, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, set up 9 ministries, where one of them being the Ministry of Science and Technology, a ministry that we support and work in very heavily. And we also have Original Man Scientific, which is the company that pretty much runs the STEM files. It makes everything happen for the STEM files. And then we have the Navy Bean Experimental Research Station, which is a program that was inspired by the work of Dr. George Washington Carver with the soybean, the sweet potato, and the peanut. Now, you mentioned earlier about stability. And speaking of stability, I'm glad I found you because I was excited to interview you because for years I've been trying to make sure that I support Black-owned businesses, especially as it relates to cosmetics, lotion, shampoo, soap. But I've been having a hard time finding a company that really understands how important the stability and the overall integrity, the physical integrity of their product is. So can you talk about, how you make sure that your products and the products you help others develop are top notch and can compete with the flagship products that we see out today, like your Nivea or your Aquavel or something, or whatever, something like that. How can we how can those who are developing their products, and how do you make sure that these products are what they're supposed to be?
So one thing I like to let people know is that most cosmetics carry common ingredients. If you look at the back of a shampoo and a body wash, those surfactants or ingredients can be used, in different products. It really just depends on what you're trying to make. So a lot of the time people are saying, this is dangerous, or this doesn't work, or this or that. But most of the cosmetics, even food, so food and cosmetics kind of cross over when it comes to ingredients. So the things that you're eating, you can also put on your hair, and most of those things are in common cosmetics. So what it is that I do to help maintain stability and things like that down the line for a company's product is I perform stability testing, PET testing, which is challenge testing. I also perform packaging compatibility testing, and all of these things are important for, say, for instance, you can make something at home. So, a lot of our companies have started at home, but if you don't have the science to know what will happen to that product when it leaves home and its transportation to your customer, then you really don't have stability. And that's why we have these stability testings and these other types of testing to ensure the company's owner and the consumer that the product is efficacious and that it will not harm or separate during, transportation, or, when it gets to the client, I'm sorry, that it won't harm them. So that's what we do. We basically do all of the testing to, anybody can be a formulator. I would say there's a lot of classes that have come up, a lot of courses.
Yeah.
But one thing, you can't be a chemist. You can't know, okay, this won't go well with this. It takes a long time to develop those skills that are needed to create stable products and products that are, you can count on when they leave you and get to your consumer. Not to, change colors, change fragrance, not to separate, or become acidic or too alkaline. Your pH can drift. So what does that do is I think about all these things. I think about what if you're shipping to, say, Brazil, or somewhere that's extremely hot?
Extremely hot, right.
Or somewhere that's extremely cold, like Antarctica. What I do is I think ahead. And I test these products that I'm formulating at these different environments and things like that, so that I know and have some type of confidence that for my client, if they ship it anywhere at the, between these ranges, they will be okay as far as stability and efficacy in their product. Will, basically meet the customer standards when it gets to them. So, that's what I do in research and development, and that's why it's so important for brands to have kind of a cosmetic chemist on their side, because we are the fortune tellers, I would say, of their product.
Yeah, you're opening our people's eyes to how important not only developing your cosmetics correctly, but also the importance of a chemist. And I think it's very crucial that we understand we are living in a world that, whether we want to admit it or not, functions off of STEM and STEM-based activities.
Definitely.
Now, a lot of people may feel that, they can't find themselves or see themselves in STEM, which is why we take it for granted so much. But, we use these products every day. If you clean, you're taking a bath every day. Right. If you don't want to walk around ashy, you wearing lotion or some type of or moisturizer or something like that. So being a Black woman, being a chemist, and seeing that and being that beacon of light for Black chemists, especially in today's world with everything going on. What has been your proudest moment in being a Black chemist and being someone who can be a understandable example of someone in STEM? Like,
so one of my proudest moments is so being a research and development chemist, you're not always going to know everything, right? This is something no chemist knows everything.
right.
But most actual inventions happen in a lab when they were trying to get something else. Like, let's just say this is something I was taught in school. Viagra was actually supposed to be a blood pressure medicine. Well, what happened was, when it got into the trial thing, it did a completely different thing. So most of the time, scientists, they create by trial and error. And what really pays off for me, being an R&D chemist, is learning from my mistakes. I love a challenge. And when I can take a product that is unstable and make it stable without really, knowing how to, I'm just going through my research phases to figure things out. I would say figuring something out with almost, no extra work, and me just trying things and it actually works. That is probably my proudest moment. And it's reassuring for me as a chemist to know that my first mind is always going to take me where I need to go. And even if that doesn't take me where I need to go, I can find the solution. I went to school actually for forensic science. And if you know anything about forensic science, that can be applied to anything, obviously. So and it's a cosmetics. So really what forensic science was, and I'm actually implementing in cosmetics, is taking a lawful question, answering it with science. So I get to use that in which I was, taught in school in cosmetics every day. Why is my product unstable? Okay, what is it doing? How does it perform? And when does it do this? So I kind of, I guess, reverse think through the process of how I'm manufacturing these products, and I fix them one way or another, and that would be my proudest thing that I do as a research and development chemist. It's almost, I don't know, it gives me joy. And when I actually got into research and development, that's how I knew. Just trial and error and coming out right, I would just leap for joy and be so happy my face would light up. And that's how I knew I wanted to stay in cosmetics.
Awesome. This has been a great show so far. Just 20 minutes, and I've learned so much. In my background, I'm a biomedical scientist, so I deal with the developing different things in the lab for eventual treatments for diseases or detecting diseases in certain bodily samples. But one of the things I've been getting into is cosmetic development and developing therapeutics for diseases using cosmetics. So what are some of the differences between your average cosmetic, like you putting just lotion on just to kind of moisturize, versus a lotion that you're developing to treat psoriasis or eczema? What are some of the key differences that go into those formulations?
So the key difference is regulation, I would say, and now you're taking it into a drug where it has claims and it's claiming to fix a disease or something. So you cannot claim anything without having that scientific, data to prove it.
Right. Right.
So say for instance, you're trying to sell this in the EU, Europe, or anywhere in the US, they have different regulations other than the FDA. The FDA is kind of open when it comes to cosmetics, but as soon as you get over that threshold into drugs, they're cracking down. They want you to register it. They want you to test it. They want you to prove that it does what it's claiming to do. And they want you to have all your data to prove to them that this product is, I forgot what the misleading or misbranding, I think is what the FDA calls it. Don't quote me on that, but it's basically adulterating, basically lying. What they don't want you to do is lie and say, hey, this treats psoriasis, and all it does is moisturize at the minimum at the base, your skin. So I would say that's the biggest difference in cosmetics and actually things that can improve health and diseases. I don't know where he went. I don't know where he went, but I'm here. I thought I was going to have to put on a show for you guys. I thought I was going to have to get out here and...
Okay, cool. I apologize for that.
I got scared.
I was so sorry. I was like, she probably talking to herself right now. I am so sorry.
It's okay. I'm going to crack out some jokes in a minute. I've always wanted to be a comedian too, so they would have been
laughing. Yeah, definitely some tech issues on mine. What was the last thing that you said before I kind of disappeared? You're talking about regulations.
I'm sorry?
You're talking about FDA regulations?
Yeah, so basically the only difference in cosmetics and things that you claim as far as treating psoriasis is those claims and the testing behind them that you have to show to the FDA to claim those. Say for instance, you did put a lotion out that was supposed to treat a disease or the symptoms of a disease, and you're claiming that on your label, the FDA is going to come after you and say that you're misleading or basically lying to the consumer because you don't have the proof to show that this product does in fact do what you're claiming it to do. And also for certain things, there are thresholds that the FDA, the EU regulations, they kind of limit you on. So that is also a big thing and a big difference. That's with any cosmetic really, but it's especially important when trying to relieve symptoms of a disease.
Got it. So for a scientist that wanted to work with you, right, and they wanted to develop something to treat a skin condition or what have you, it'll be better for them to tell you offhand that I'm just looking to partner with you for the formulation and not necessarily the actual selling of this product. Where that's something I plan to do in another step versus just coming to you saying, hey, I want to develop something and then use this to treat some of my patients, correct?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, you were...
Okay, maybe I said it wrong. So can you hear me okay? Is it my
kind of
connection?
breaking up a little bit and has a little lag, so that's why I'm...
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. It's just a little lag, so if you can talk a little slower, I don't know why. It might be me. It's just a lag.
Hold on, let me get out and come back in.
Okay.
All right, how's it now?
It's the same. It might be me. But I think what you're asking is, I really don't. I really don't. Can you ask the question again?
Yeah, basically what I was saying was it'll be wise of a scientist or someone who wants to work with you to develop something, to treat a disease, to tell you off rip, like the first and foremost, that I just want to partner with you to develop a formulation for a product rather than just saying I want to develop something to treat a disease and then
Right.
just push it out there in the market, right?
Right. So there are things that you can put in a product that can alleviate those symptoms for, say, psoriasis and things, and they can actually even be natural, to where you don't have to cross over into that drug realm. Um, and what it is that I can do is I can help you alleviate those symptoms without claiming those things. And you just it's really the marketing and the way that you market it and you label. So somebody can come to me and say develop this, and they can get, I can develop something that is in the drug, aspect of cosmetics, or I can develop something that's purely a cosmetic. What kind of makes it, different is the way that you're marketing and branding it. So I can do both. I can develop just a cosmetic, or I can develop a drug. But really it's just up to you how you want to market it. That will change how I'm going forward in the formulation, and it would definitely be a good idea to go to somebody, especially when trying to get some claims and things together. Um, but definitely, if you just want to get out there on, in the market, um what I would suggest is alleviate, kind of, there's ways that you can claim something without claiming it.
Yeah,
And just
yeah.
playing with the words and kind of hinting at things is what you'll see in most cosmetics. But that's definitely something the chemically divine lab can do.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm definitely excited to work with you because I have some things that we have coming down the pipe as a company that we could definitely partner on. Um, as a person who's interested in your services, what are some of the things that someone would need to begin working with?
So we've kind of changed some things in the last couple of weeks or months. So definitely packaging, having your packaging kind of already thought out, already having maybe even a sample of that packaging would be very important for starting out. Also, something new that I've kind of adapted into my own bit into the Chemically Divine Lab is having the client pick their fragrance. Most of the time, the adjustments are with the fragrances. So you may smell something just being in a bottle and say, "Oh, I love this," but once it gets into cosmetic, it completely changes because now
Yeah.
it's mixing with other chemicals and other scents, and it can alter the scent. So that's why a lot of times the fragrance is a big thing. And a lot of times people don't know what they actually want scent wise,
Right, right.
until they actually smell it in the product. So I came to a point where I saw that all I was having adjustment wise was the fragrance. It wasn't the product they weren't, kind of set on. It was the fragrance. So that's something that now I'm adding to startup, is that you already kind of have your scents picked out, so that it's easier. All I would have to do is kind of change the ratios of fragrance input. So those would be the two things. Also having what you want your name to be, what you want it to do, the product, having your name and what you want it to do. I think another thing is knowing your budget. So I can formulate something for somebody all day. But if you only have this much for ingredients, and you're trying to get the biggest ROI, I kind of have to maneuver and figure out science-wise which ingredients I can implement that are the cheapest. So that's another thing that you want to have kind of picked out, and how is this product going to be produced. So I offer services for DIY startups, people who are getting in their kitchen and mixing this up. I kind of uh, walk them through the production of it. I also send them templates, or if they want to make a bigger batch, they can do that easily with my Excel kind of spreadsheet that I've developed. I also would like to know whether, if you're going to a contract manufacturer, well, I need to get in contact with that contract manufacturer so that I can make sure that they're doing all the things and the steps, and kind of work with them to make this product stable. Because even though I'm making it and I'm making sure that it's stable at the lab batch, you
Right.
also, before going to full scale production, you have to have a pilot batch. So a lot of times the chemist and the manufacturer is going to work together to scale up, so that, say for instance, something I made in the lab was stable, but at a bigger scale, you kind of have to maneuver some things, how you're mixing it, how you're producing it, in order to kind of get it to mimic the same small batch that you made in lab. So kind of having those things set, fragrance, packaging, your budget, your name of your product, what type of product you want, even knowing some things that you know you want in this product. I can't promise that it will be in there because I have to go through my own science research and maneuvering. Some
Right.
things
Right.
can't just happen. So knowing those things is definitely important before coming to me. Kind of just doing your homework and your research, that makes everything go a lot smoother and a lot faster, quite honestly.
Got you. Wow. So I'm very intrigued by your process, especially the part where you are very hands-on with the manufacturing, if there's one, a manufacturing company that'll mass produce the cosmetic. Because it's one thing to have a formulation, but it's another thing to produce it on a very large scale.
Yeah.
Things can change, machinery can go haywire, change up the formulation, stuff like that. So I'm glad that you stay as connected as possible to your client's project. I think that's something that goes a long way. Now I want to talk about, and I want to just kind of go into the business side of things a little bit more. Is this a company are you by yourself in your endeavor, or do you have like a team of chemists with you, or how
Currently,
you do
currently I am a one-woman show. I do
it?
almost everything.
Wow.
So I am in the process. I'm also starting up. So that's what a lot of my clients are they feel safer with me because I'm kind of in the same startup as them. I'm also, kind of in the same mindset as them as far as my business is growing. But it definitely is a one-woman show over here. I would love to bring other people on, but of course, when you're growing and things like that, you kind of have to learn your business and your structure. And I've officially made it a year last week, so I'm still in that fresh phase, where
Yeah.
I'm still kind of drilling down my service and kind of perfecting it in a way, so that I can hire a team. But I do
Yeah.
have people that I work with on various projects and things. I'm basically a networker. I pull people in who have the specialty in whatever they have, to kind of help me out. So I do have a team, but necessarily I'm a one-woman show.
Right. You have a team, but not necessarily under that chemically defined laboratory umbrella. Got you. And that's pretty much how we're doing things too on and what we do with invention and innovation. And one of the things we learned when we started in 2015, man, I can't believe it's been that long already. But when we started back in 2015, I actually started a board of directors just right off the gate. Like I was just like, I'm gonna bring as many people as I can to kind of help me get started. And that wasn't the way I should have went about it, or I wouldn't recommend anyone to go about it like that. When you first starting up, it's better to do things yourself, like you said, learn the way of your company, and then bring people in. Make get some revenue up first, and then bring people in to show them that, hey, this is an opportunity for you. What you think about this? So it's just me and Jabril now, but we're getting to that point where we can start bringing people in and doing different things under an official OMS title. But it's great to see you doing what you do. We got about 20 minutes left. we don't believe in long, drawn out interviews. But I wanted to ask you, just from an early beginning standpoint, you mentioned your interest in chemistry, interest in STEM. What was it about developing cosmetics? Like, what was it that said, okay, this is it. This is what I want to make a business from?
So just going back to the fact that I went into forensic science, in school, I'm a very creative person, always have been. Kind of good at almost everything I try because I don't quit until I'm at least average at it.
Right.
With everything that I do. So when I was in forensic science, I was using creative ways to solve really, even though it sounds like Scooby-Doo, that's what I did in class. We would get a picture of a crime scene and we would have to kind of try to figure out and profile this situation. And you get to do the same thing with cosmetics. I get to go into the lab and reverse engineer something. Somebody gives me something, I'm figuring out what ingredients it takes to create that product. But the biggest thing that made me say cosmetics is where I want to be, is just being able to go in, create whatever it is that I want. I love cosmetics. I'm a girly girl. But being able to create the things that I see on shelves, that made it all worthwhile. And also, I guess also being able to use my forensic science background. So the creativity was the biggest thing that made me say, cosmetics is the field that I wanted to stay in. I'd been in almost every industry. That was food science, industrial chemicals, making car repair putty and things like that you can find in Walmart. I was the person developing and saying, hey, no, we need to add this because the batch is out of specification. I worked in almost everything, and it didn't occur to me that I even liked science as much as I did until I got into cosmetics. It was kind of like, is this what I signed up for? Although I went to school for forensic science, I had a big pushback when trying to get into that field. For a lot of reasons, just area, timing, and just being a new graduate. And really, in today's corporate America world, you got to know somebody. And I got a lot of pushback and fell into manufacturing and quality, and landed in every industry that you can think of in manufacturing, and finally lit up when it came to cosmetic science, just because sometimes I could pick the fragrance, sometimes I could pick the color, sometimes I can add a certain oil, and I just love to see how their projects came out, and making the client happy. I did it at the company that I was with before the Chemically Divine Laboratory, and just having them say, oh, the pink that I thought would be, nice on this bar soap or this formula, it isn't that great. And they would give us kind of the freedom to choose, and try to match their desires. And a lot of times they were happy with what I chose. And it brought a lot of revenue to the company. And I was like, what if I could do this for my own? I had gotten to the natural hair had become a big thing. So I was like, what if I could do this for myself? Why am I paying all this money? Being a college student as well, and first starting out, you're paying all this. Being natural is not inexpensive; it's very expensive. So that also aided kind of my passion for cosmetics. It's just being able to, kind of do it for myself and save some money in the long run. So definitely my creativity.
Yeah, and I love that because being able to see the similarities between two different types of sciences and being able to discover your true path from what you originally wanted to study. Sometimes our destinies aren't laid out in front of us. We have to find them, or
Stumble.
presented to us in some way. So speaking of chemistry and being able to do things with chemistry and alter products and make products, who has been your inspiration in the field of chemistry, especially as a Black woman in chemistry?
So of course, as a Black woman in chemistry, there has to be another Black woman in chemistry. So I would say the first person who inspired me was Cindy J. She owns Cindy J Labs, who they do the same similar thing that I do. But at the time, I was starting my business and thinking that I was the only one doing it. Like I was breaking into a new industry, and here it was. There was a community, and she was one of the first people that I met in that community. And she's kind of the same age as me, and it really inspired me to say that it's possible, so definitely Cindy would be the person who inspired me. I started asking her questions because she was kind of starting up herself. She's kind of in the same area in her business as well, and just saying that she could do it inspired me significantly. And seeing the other chemists, Black women chemists that I now know and network with on a regular basis every month, seeing them definitely made it possible, made it realistic.
Yeah, and that's dope too, because like if you look back at like 40, 50 years ago, you couldn't say that. We couldn't say like there was a Black unless it was like, Dr. Carver or, St. Elmo Brady or, people like that, or Percy Julian, these chemists. It was very rare to have a Black female chemist at that time period. So it just goes to show you the involvement in STEM, the evolution in STEM, excuse me, and how things have changed, and how Black people have changed science and technology. So I definitely see you doing that as well. You are currently changing science and technology. You're doing it in an amazing way. So at this time, I wanted to go into a social media segment of the show where we talk about something that we see on your timeline, whether it's your business page, your personal page, and it's called a social media tap-in. So I just put it up on the screen. You kind of tell us what's going on in that picture, okay?
Okay.
All right, cool. So tell us what's going on here.
So at this, I actually was in a photo shoot. This is my first official branding photo shoot. And I actually had created something. So that little solution that you see, it's an oil and water mixture, and it's also showing the difference, and how you actually have to use your science to mix those, the science background to mix those two. Oil and water do not want to mix, and what it takes to mix those things, those two, ingredients, is an emulsifier. So right there in that picture, you're actually seeing science happen. I don't know if you can see, but if you zoom in, you'll see some bubbles, and that's actually, so you can get oil and water to mix, only a certain amount. But with agitation, you can't just get it to mix without, but it'll also always separate out eventually. So that's what we're saying. We're seeing kind of the process of making a product. So you don't necessarily, if you're trying to get a 2-layer, product, that's what it would look like, and that's how you would get it. But naturally in formulating, those two phases aren't added to each other until there's an emulsifier in the oil stage, and they're both heated, or you might have a cold process emulsifier where you don't have to heat it. But essentially, you add that oil with that emulsifier with agitation, and that's how you get your emulsions, your creams, your lotions. So quick fact about science, cosmetic science. There you go.
That's dope. That's dope. So go into emulsification, because that seems to be that's one of the very key elements in developing, like you say, your lotions, your butters, and different things like that. So what exactly is that, and what is its main function in that product?
The emulsification or the emulsifier?
The emulsifier, like whatever you're using as an emulsifier.
So the emulsifier is its main job. So cosmetic chemists, we separate the terms. So a surfactant and an emulsifier essentially do the same thing. Their differences are their product type. So a surfactant is used for a foaming product. An emulsifier is used for an emulsion. So a surfactant blends oil and water together when it comes to a foaming body wash or facial wash or anything, shampoo. That is what you use. But in a actual emulsion, a cream, a lotion, a butter, you're using an emulsifier, and that usually gives you this white, creamy look. Now, for surfactant, those surfactants, they can give a clear solution. So emulsification is just important. Mainly, surfactants and emulsifiers are important just mainly because we need water for hydration and oils for softening. So both of those together, they create this moisturizing, softening type of I guess solution. And what a emulsifier does is bring those two powerful things together so that it can do what it needs to do for whatever part of the body, hair, skin, whatever it needs to do. That's what it essentially does. It's just kind of mix everything together and keep it in a stable environment. The biggest thing that it also does is create stability, so that your product is not separating it out, that you can keep that oil dispersed in that continuous water phase, or if you're making it oil, a water and oil, I should say, a water and oil emulsion. So a lot of people don't know. I know I'm getting into deep science, but a lot of people don't know there are two different type of emulsions. There's a water and oil emulsion, and there's an oil and water emulsion. So this is why science is, just knowing your science when being a formulator is important, because you have to use different things for different types of products. There's a subcategory for subcategories in a way.
Gotcha.
And what the emulsifier does is create that kind of creamy look, whether it's oil and water and oil. So in water and oil, you have majority oil and a little bit of water trying to get into that oil. Still need a water and oil emulsifier for that. So emulsifiers are important and necessary for emulsions and cream and lotion based products, and even conditioners, and things like that.
Awesome. Well, we are approaching the end of the show. I've learned so much. I remember one time when I tried to make my first lotion, I could not figure out why I kept getting this terrible inconsistency. And now I know that there are two different types of emulsifiers, and the way you broke that down made perfect sense, because what I was trying to do for the product I was trying to develop, I was doing the opposite of what needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So I thank you for that, and I'm sure everyone who's watching has learned a ton about cosmetics and different things of that nature. And don't be afraid to speak science. This is a science platform.
Yeah.
That's what this is for. As long as we break it down, and
I
our
hope I
audience
did.
is not right, and our audience is not left trying to figure out what you were talking about, we're good. So
did
I
I do a good
definitely
job at
appreciate that.
that?
Yeah, she did a great job.
Okay.
Phenomenal job. Phenomenal.
That's
Awesome.
actually coming out with an ebook eventually.
Okay.
It's taking some time, but I'm actually coming out with an ebook that kind of breaks things down. It's kind of like a for dummies.
Like a glossary kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Dope. I definitely look forward to that and helping you promote it as well. So at this time, we're gonna close out with a few questions. Is it so on the STEM files? We don't consider this a show. We consider this a live networking session. So this is something that we put together to get to know scientists in front of our people.
Mm-hmm.
So what is there anything that you have, any questions you have for us at the STEM files, or anything you want to know about what we do? Definitely feel free to ask.
So I don't know if you can answer this without some type of breaking some type of law somewhere, but what is probably one of the things that you worked on at Original Man that you were proud of?
A lot really. So a lot of the people who watch the show don't know. I started in science and in research science when I was in high school. I had a lot of ideas, and I wanted to get these out. So I went around to every university I could get to help to get somebody to help me work on my research. And the first university that budged was Virginia Commonwealth University in the city I live in right now in Richmond, Virginia. And one of my first ideas was for something for atherosclerosis. And for those who don't know what that is, that's just a buildup of debris and plaque in the arteries over time from a certain type of lifestyle. And I think the coolest part about it was that it was my research, and I could take it anywhere I wanted to take it to. And I own the rights to whatever I wrote from that research, all the publications, all the protocols, the different types of procedures, mechanisms, different things like that. It was all under my IP, So I felt that it was necessary to start the scientific, and so that pretty much answers it. Just the background, the history of it, and the whole reason I started Original Man Scientific. That's been the coolest and the most proudest moment to me so far. And just being able to help people with their conditions, seeing how we can formulate different things to, make their not even so much better, but actually help them rid themselves of whatever they're dealing with. So
I probably would even need, I definitely need you so for the research for like actual things like how you were talking about that are therapeutic, just having somebody with that mindset of knowing how to incorporate some other aspects into the cosmetic world is definitely essential. So definitely that's great. You can impress me.
Oh no, trust me. The impression is all mine. I have said nothing that amounts to the things that you taught us and said to us on the show today. So it's a beautiful thing to see Black scientists come together and doing positive things and breaking down that imagery of what a scientist is supposed to look like. So thank you so much for everything that you do, everything that you will do, and I definitely look forward to working with you. Is there anything that you like to leave the audience with? Any closing words, any words of inspiration, any special messages to the future Black female chemists out there, or Black chemists, period?
So one thing that I have to tell new graduates in science is don't be scared to take temporary positions. That's how I got where I got. That's how I actually in corporate America now is actually a big requirement to get into those big companies. Instead of trying to go straight through the door, come in through the side door and then they'll hire you. So it doesn't have to be this stressful thing when you're looking for a job. You can literally go to Aerotech Life, I think Apex, you can go to Aerotech, Apex Life Sciences. I'm sorry, let me get it together. Apex Life Sciences, Aerotech, Kelly Services, there Randstad. There's so many temporary services that I can't even list them all, but a very important key to getting out of college and being successful and not ending up in somebody's factory packing, not even using their degree. That was my biggest fear. It still is my biggest fear. It will always be my biggest fear, just for anybody around me who's getting out of college, because it's our reality nowadays. College is kind of like, hey, it's just like high school. So you kind of have to come out with an internship in a field that will get you to the field that you want to get to. Because you might go to school for one thing, but you may work in another industry. So pick a broad subject in college. One. Two, get that internship, kind of closely related into that field, or if you're in science, get that lab experience, even if it's in quality assurance, get some type of lab experience. And then once you get out, look for those temporary agencies if you're having trouble breaking in and going straight direct hire way. That is what I did. That's how I actually got so much experience in the industry, even in the manufacturing. Manufacturing is very easy to get into right out of college if you're going the temporary consultant way. So definitely look into that. Don't be scared. It will pan out. Everything will make sense. You will, end up where you need to be. I never thought that I would end up in cosmetic science, from forensic science. But it happens, and changing your major or what you do when you get out of school. Everybody does it. Literally almost everybody. 90% of college graduates don't even go into the field that they want to. It's great for that 10%, but most people they kind of get teeter-totter on the fence, where they're still using their degree, but they're in a whole different atmosphere than they thought they would be in. And so just don't be scared to just step out there and take those temporary jobs. They will get you where you need to be, and everything will pan out. And try to learn what you can from every job. You may, just like me, I took what I learned from a job and I created a whole business out of it.
Exactly. That's the goal. You go to learn, and then you eventually go on and do it for yourself. So yeah.
That would be the advice I have.
Okay, awesome. So for those who are watching, this has been another edition of the STEM Files, where we are the voice of STEM talent and Black culture. I had the honor of getting to know and networking with R&D chemist and CEO and founder of the Chemically Divine Laboratory LLC, Ezmer Harris. Are you Dr. Harris or just?
No, I'm not. I'm just a little regular person.
Got you. Okay, it's all good. It's all good because you carry yourself like one. You're very, very, very impressive in your field, and you could have fooled me if I didn't know offhand. So I
maybe one day. I just didn't want to go in and do all that whole experience again. Let's just say that.
I get it. And you don't always have to. And a lot of times, when someone is going in fields like ours, they think that if you go to the PhD, you make the most impact. And I disagree with that. A lot of times you can make as much impact as you want to make as long as you have the knowledge to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I commend you for that.
To learn it.
Right, willpower. Like there's the knowledge, and then you gotta wanna have it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's a lot to have. So definitely. But for those who are watching, you can follow more about you can get to know more of our content on our social media handles, the STEM Files on Facebook and YouTube, and at the STEM Files on Instagram and Twitter. Jabril Engineer, Tariq Cardiac. So how can our audience get to know more about your company?
Well, first visiting our website, thechemicallydivinelab.com. It's just that simple. It's our name.com. And you can basically find us with that name almost everywhere. If you type in the Chemically Divine Lab in Google, you should find our Instagram. That's the Chemically Divine Lab. You can find our Facebook, which is the Chemically Divine Laboratory. And then that's how you can find us. And also, if you want to just follow my personal page, it is Beauteous, which is BEAU.TEOUS, which is another word for beautiful.
Awesome. And for those who want to get direct links to all that information, the link is in the description. Once again, the link is in the description. So just go ahead and if you're watching on YouTube, right at the bottom. If you're watching on Facebook, it's right at the top. But once again, thank you, Ms. Harris, for joining us.
Thank you.
We look forward to working with you, company side, and to definitely have you back on the show to talk about updates in the company and just in your life in general. And for those who want to tune in next Thursday for our next guest, we're going to have Nafisa Muhammad. She's going to be on our June 3rd episode at 8 p.m. Eastern Time next Thursday. She just graduated from Johns Hopkins University. She studied mental health on the clinical side of things. So we're going to be discussing the importance what it means to have, and what it looks like to have actual mental health. So definitely tap in this coming Thursday, June 3rd, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And once again, family, this has been the STEM Files. I'm Tariq Cardiac, typically joined by my right hand, your brain engineer. Until next time, peace.